I was impressed with that move you pulled. Bang.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's me, it's DMC, the undefeated, undisputed YouTube champion. That's right, it's the Maverick, Mark Daniels, here with your Monday Night Raw review for October 23rd, 2017, as well as the TLC pay-per-view review. I didn't get a chance, I wasn't going to be able to record my TLC pay-per-view review last night, and I didn't really have time to do it until later in the afternoon, so I was like, you know what? I honestly don't have too much to talk about with the TLC pay-per-view. Really, the only two talking points really was Asuka's debut. I guess three. Finn Balor versus AJ, which was awesome. And then, of course, the main event clusterfuck. But we'll do that after the Raw review. I will talk about my thoughts on the TLC pay-per-view. We'll rate the matches out of 5 stars, and then I'll give you a grade overall of what I thought the pay-per-view deserved. Maybe a letter grade, maybe a star overall. Maybe somewhere in the middle for both. We'll see what happens. But first things first, we were live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, as Mr. Kennedy would say, or Mr. Anderson in Impact, TNA, Global Force Wrestling, whatever the hell it's called nowadays. Anyways, that's not what this is about. We're talking about Raw, and first things first, we come out with Kurt Angle. He comes out, and the crowd, of course, chanting, "You still got it," which, you know, he did. I thought he did fine in the pay-per-view. I guess we could talk a little bit about that now since we're talking about Angle. I did think that he was a little slow-paced in that match. He was kind of on the sidelines a lot. But I think that he was portraying that a little bit on purpose because if you look at it, he kind of acted like the disheveled old man throughout the entire match. I kind of think that was done strategically. Then when he came out, was just throwing people around. He looked a little bit less like an old man and out of place. But he did well. I thought he did fine, and they chanted "You still got it," of course, which is pretty classic phrase that you yell at a wrestler like that after they've just had a match when they came back. And I don't think that's the last time we'll see Angle in the ring. In fact, we may see him at Survivor Series. And speaking of which, he shows off some Survivor Series matches next. He talks about Natalya versus Alexa Bliss, Baron Corbin versus The Miz, Usos versus Seth and Dean of The Shield, as well as Jinder Mahal versus Brock Lesnar. Now, what's funny about that is they announced Jinder versus Brock, but later in the night when Paul Heyman came out, he then accepted the challenge. We already knew the challenge was accepted. They mentioned that it was accepted. And chances are that was probably like a last-minute change that they like to do on Monday Night Raw. Maybe I'm looking too much into that, but he announces those matches. Then he also says that there's going to be 2 5-man Survivor Series matches. With Raw versus Smackdown, there's going to be a men's 5-on-5 match and a women's 5-on-5 match. And I was speculating throughout the night until they actually had a 10-man tag, which they can still do this for the cruiserweights. I'm kind of anticipating a maybe a pre-show cruiserweight Survivor Series match. Team Enzo versus Team Kalisto, something like we saw today, where it was Team Enzo versus Team Lucha. I think we could see something like that at Survivor Series as like a good pre-show match. I'm kind of disappointed though because this doesn't leave a whole lot of room because they have a lot of guys, man. They have a lot of guys on both rosters that I want to see in a match at Survivor Series, and I just don't see it happening. I think it was last year they had 3. They had a women's, then they had a main event men's match, and then they also had like a tag team Survivor Series match. If I'm not mistaken, I think that it was like a 10-man, like 10-on-10 Survivor Series match, but it was like a tag team thing. I wouldn't mind them doing that because I think there's a lot of tag teams that's gonna be left out of this pay-per-view. It's kind of a shame. And we'll make some predictions on who I think will be in the Survivor Series teams after we talk about Raw here. But then after that happens, Miz comes out with Cesaro, Sheamus, and Curtis Axel, which I'm surprised Curtis Axel didn't get involved in TLC. I believe it was in his hometown as well, at least in his home state. I kind of would have expected him to come out there, but he didn't. Probably good for him because it was a clusterfuck, and we'll talk about it. After they come out, they kind of surround the ring a la The Shield on Kurt Angle. Shield comes out. Obviously, Roman's still ill, so you got Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose coming out. They help Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle says, "Okay, you guys want to fight? We'll have a fight. It'll be Miz, Sheamus, Cesaro versus Dean, Seth, and a man that was at TLC last night, and we get him for one more night, AJ Styles." I popped big. The crowd popped big. This was awesome, and this match was really, really good. This was a very fun match. Everyone in this match shined great. There was a lot of great false finishes in this match. Really fun match. I really enjoyed it. It actually ended up with AJ hitting the phenomenal forearm on Cesaro. They had a bunch of suicide dives stuff on the outside of the ring. AJ was behind Cesaro, hits the phenomenal forearm, 1, 2, 3. Afterwards, Kane comes out unexpectedly, beats all three of those men up, and then basically cuts a pretty good promo, I thought, on Braun Strowman, basically talking about how they murdered the guy. They show a video package of Kane and Braun kind of fighting with each other during the match, and then with them killing Braun in the garbage truck, which it was so strange. Like, no one went over there to check on them, the referees or anything. They just kind of let it happen, and then kind of forgot about it. They didn't even bring it up, like on Talking, I almost called Talking Smack, on Raw Talk. They just kind of ignored it. It was kind of strange because this man got murdered. They did a whole big deal when he was in that ambulance crash, and we got to see him walk out, which was amazing. And now everything's going. It's almost like this was the face turn for Braun, but honestly, they should have had his face turn be against Roman Reigns. Man, that was awesome. But I'm excited to see him come back. Hopefully, me bumping the table here didn't make any too much noise, and my microphone is on top of it. And I don't have like a mic stand yet. I'm working on that. Anyways, Kane cut a pretty good promo on him, basically saying that he will always be Raw's only monster, and then he says he wants competition. Well, then out comes Finn Balor. So everything up to this point was great, and I've seen a lot of people upset about this. Kane and Finn have a match. Kane wins. I believe he had 3 chokeslams to beat Finn. It kind of sucks. Finn Balor just had this amazing match with AJ Styles the night before. He beat AJ Styles clean with not too many false finishes or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, Kane beats him? Kane? Have we forgotten kind of how much of a loser Kane has become in the last 5 years, which is being generous? Kind of sucked. It really did. Maybe Finn will get a win back. I don't know. But that's okay. Kane wins. It's not going to destroy Finn's credibility. It just kind of sucks, especially if he's going to be next in line for a Universal title match somewhere down the line. Because I do think that, I know there's some discrepancies in what people think on this, but I think the Beast versus the Demon is a marquee match. It's something you can put on a banner. I don't know if it's not really a WrestleMania match. It definitely would have been a good SummerSlam match. I don't even know what the pay-per-views are coming up next. I know Survivor Series obviously next. I really have no idea what comes up in the next couple months. I would imagine we're probably going to have at least 3 or 4 pay-per-views before the year's over, before the Rumble. You know what? The Rumble would be a good spot for Finn versus Brock. I think that'd be a good day to have that match. But either way, but that's so far down the line, you can still build Finn back up, no problem. It's not a big deal. Then we go backstage. Angle's on the phone. Doesn't really mention who he's with. Maybe Stephanie. I don't know. Shane interrupts him. So Shane's there. And Angle thanks Shane for the use of AJ, and then kind of jokes, says, man, can we keep him permanently? And Shane's like, no. And then Kurt Angle's like, I don't blame it, because without AJ Styles, you guys really don't have anybody. And Shane, of course, took exception to that. And then they started having kind of a pissing contest on which brand is better. And then Shane mentioned something about hashtag under siege, which foreshadows what happened later in the night. Now, unfortunately, I didn't watch the show live. I recorded it and watched it afterwards, and I kind of already got spoiled about what happened, even though I was still looking forward to it nonetheless, because I didn't know exactly how it happened, but I heard about the invasion of Smackdown just from Facebook. I opened it up real quick to check a message from somebody, and there it was in front of my face. I'm like, dang it. Well, that's okay. It happens. But so when he said that, I kind of already knew in my mind what was going to happen, but if I'm an audience member who didn't see this coming, I don't think they would have known what that meant. But what a great foreshadowing, comment that was. Then we have the third match of the night, which is Asuka versus Emma, a rematch from TLC. And this is actually a really good match. I was kind of worried because at first when Asuka and Emma came out, neither girl got much of a reaction. But during the match, Asuka was getting a chance for Let's Go Asuka. However, when this happened, I had flashbacks of Nia Jax in last year's Survivor Series, because I do think Asuka will be on the women's team, where Nia Jax got tapped out by Becky Lynch while Nia Jax just got up to the main roster. Really hurt her credibility, in my opinion. I'm a little worried they're going to have Asuka lose in the Survivor Series match, whether it's by count out, like they did with, I think Braun last year got counted out. It may have been with James Ellsworth. Is that what happened? So I can see something like that happening. Unless they should just have Team Raw win. There's no reason why Team SmackDown has to win this particular match. They could win one of the other matches in its place and it'd be just fine. And you have Asuka be the one that really dominates. Granted, people would argue maybe Asuka's already undefeated. She had that amazing streak in NXT. But here's the problem. Not everyone that watches the main product knows who Asuka is. They don't know about her undefeated streak. And yes, they told us about it, but that doesn't mean anything to a big portion of the audience. So if you have her go in there and look dominant, it'll only help her credibility even more. Maybe some other girls could use the rub from that. I don't know. But I think Asuka needs that rub more than anybody to kind of really solidify herself as the top woman on this roster as of right now. That's just my opinion. Save any losses, even a Survivor Series loss, I think would hurt her and hurt whoever's going to break her streak because it's going to happen eventually. I just don't know who that's going to be. Whether it's Alexa Bliss by cheating, which I don't want to see happen. The problem with a streak like this is you want it to be broken by someone new to really get a good rub off it, but it never happens that way. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know. I really like Asuka, and I really want to see her succeed. And Emma has been very impressive lately, too. Her match last night and tonight have been really good. She's got some great offense in there. Emma's good. Emma's always been good. People will say she's overrated, but I think that term gets thrown around way too much because people say, "Oh, Cesaro's he's underrated. Emma's I said overrated, but what I meant was underrated. Emma's underrated. Cesaro's underrated, but that's not really true because everyone knows how good they are. I would say underutilized is the correct term there. I think underrated is it's thrown too much and it's not used properly in my opinion. I would say underutilized is the right word, but Emma has definitely been underutilized. And I'm hoping that these streak of good matches really kind of opens creative and the people in the back, and they say, we might have something with Emma. Maybe we should do something more with her. And they really should because she's good. And speaking of women who are good, Alexa Bliss comes out. I'm a huge Alexa Bliss fan. I have been since her NXT days. She cuts a promo, talks about beating Mickey and facing Natalya. But this was great. So she says she's mad because the fans don't cheer for her like they do other people. In fact, she talked about AJ Styles and Finn Balor. She says, you have these two guys in the middle of the ring staring at each other for, 10 minutes. And you guys are chanting, this is awesome. I want chants. So we're going to do a chant along with me. I'm going to start a chant, and then you guys are going to mimic me. And then she starts chanting, you deserve it. And then the crowd just boos. This was good stuff. Mickey James comes out, and then she DDTs Alexa. Well, we're in these, these heels. They were like 6-inch heels, I think someone on commentary said. Kind of impressive. Impressive that she didn't break her ankle doing that, and or the shoe for that matter. And then she says, Alexa, you do deserve it. And then she leaves. So I'm guessing she's not done with Mickey James, which I like Mickey James. I respect what she's done, but ever since she's came up to back to WWE on a main roster role, she just doesn't seem that much of a threat. And part of it's booking, most of it's booking, really. Mickey should have been treated a lot better. She should have had more impact. So I don't know what I think they just didn't have anything to do with her. I don't think that was the original plan, because when she had her match with Asuka in NXT, I don't think they expected her to be received so well. And the fact that she had such a great match with Asuka, I think they're like, we got to put her on the show. But how? Okay, well, and they came up with this bullshit storyline with Alexa, and it just didn't work. So she needs to build up some more credibility. I don't think she's going to get the title from Alexa because I think the money is with Asuka being Alexa and winning the championship that way. So I think Alexa keeps a hold of it until Asuka is ready to take the title. Then we had Bayley and Sasha talking to Angle backstage. He wanted to talk to them about being the captain. Alicia Fox interrupts him, and she's just acting crazy. It was actually pretty funny what she was doing, actually. But anyway, she... one thing that really cracked me up was Angle poked fun at her because during the pre-show match, she tried pinning Sasha Banks on the outside of the ring, and Angle brought that up, and I thought that was pretty funny. So then he sets up a triple threat match between the three, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Then Elias comes out. Who wants to walk with Elias? Crowd pops. And he kind of stops, and he's like, wow, that's a pretty strong response. But anything is stronger than Aaron Rodgers' collarbone, which the crowd, of course, started booing. They started chanting, go, Pack, go. And then he says, yeah, go, Pack, go. I think each one of you should go home or something like that. And it was pretty funny, but then his mic starts messing up, and he starts yelling at the tech backstage, and he's just going to go up there and beat the hell out of him. And then out comes Jason Jordan. Everyone saw that coming. There's no way they didn't. Elias and Jason have a pretty fun, pretty quick but pretty fun match. Jason was very aggressive on the outside of the ring. He was, grabbing and throwing Elias to the barricade, from barricade to barricade, and he's all fired up. And he runs into Elias and gets hit right in the face or shoulder. I couldn't really tell from the angle it was shot at. But gets hit with his guitar. And I was actually eating a chicken nugget, and I almost spit it out. And I said, "Jesus Christ!" Like I thought this man was hurt, because he ran right into it. It looked nasty, dude. So hopefully Jason's okay. But it was a really cool spot. Really digging Elias, man. Ever since he debuted on Raw, man, I've done a 180 on this guy. I will 100% be okay with admitting that I was wrong about this guy. Because when he was on NXT, man, this guy was boring. He sucked. He had the guitar thing, but he didn't have this, this charisma about him and the swagger about him to go out there and interact with the crowd and stuff like he does. And it's really good. He's really done well. And his wrestling's not bad either. I remember his first match I believe it was with Dean Ambrose. His debut was really good. So this guy's good. I'm really liking Elias a lot. Then Brock comes out. Heyman cuts a great Paul Heyman promo. Really gets you excited for a match. He says that he doesn't insult, Brock's opponents because if they're matched against Brock, they're clearly deserving of it. He says he always talks them up. Samoa Joe, John Cena, etc. Randy Orton, etc. And I almost said AJ Styles, but I don't think AJ's ever faced Brock. In fact, I'm pretty sure he hasn't. But he did bring up AJ Styles. When he was talking about Jinder. But anyways, he starts roasting Jinder, and he, calls him the Modern Maharaja, and he talks about the Singh brothers. It was pretty funny stuff, doing what Paul does best. He completely buries Jinder, though, which has me thinking Jinder might actually win. I don't know. I've been thinking this anyways. I'm thinking what might happen. It's really hard to say because I don't know what match is going to main event Survivor Series. You would think this match would. But with the implications that's going on between the two brands in this brand battle, now they're attacking each other, and I'm sure Raw's going to attack them tomorrow night. If not, some time down the line, they're going to get the revenge. They have to. And I really want them to fight for something. I don't know what it could be, but maybe for the Cruiserweight division, maybe they can put the Cruiserweight division on the line versus like AJ Styles. If Raw wins, they get AJ Styles. If SmackDown wins, they get the Cruiserweight division. I don't know. Something like that. Or they can, AJ Styles is on the line and so is Cesaro or something. You know what I mean? They could put superstars. Winner keeps their superstar and gets the new superstar for free. I think that'd be kind of cool. Or if they wrestle, they got to wrestle for something, I think, to make it even that much more important. But I could see a lot of shenanigans happen in either match. And I'm going to talk about predictions a little bit when I talk about who I think is going to be on the Survivor Series teams, but I could very easily see someone interrupt this Brock match with Jinder, especially if this is the main event. You have like Samoa Joe come out, referee bumps, gets knocked down. Apparently, I think John Cena is rumored to be the referee for this match. You have John Cena get knocked down or whatever, get hit by somebody, and then you can have Samoa Joe come out and attack Brock for revenge and try to get another title shot. Choke out Brock Lesnar. Jinder Mahal sneaks a win. So Jinder gets to beat the champ, gets to beat the Beast. But of course, the Beast didn't win cleanly. Because when you have a match like this, it's a lose-lose situation in my opinion. Because what happens is no matter who loses, it really hurts your top champion of your brand. It really does. And if Jinder loses, though no one would be surprised, it would make his title reign that much weaker, which he doesn't need. But if he beats Brock, especially if he beats Brock, even with just the Singh brothers, Jinder ain't losing that belt till Mania. There's no way. They've had this guy go over Shinsuke, Randy Orton several times, and now AJ Styles is next, probably going to put over Jinder as well. If he beats Brock, my God, people are going to be pissed. But anyways, I'm starting to think Jinder might win though. I hope not. Kalisto cuts an interview backstage. He's going to revoke his rematch tomorrow on 205 Live. Talks about Team Lucha. They do the cheesy Lucha thing. It went over like a fart in church. No one cared. Triple threat match. Sasha and Bayley and Alicia Fox in a triple threat match. It was an okay match. Nothing special. Foxy actually won, which was a surprise to me. She's the captain. And so she's guaranteed to be on the Survivor Series match. And when we talk about the attack, and we're almost there, I'll talk about the women's team and stuff. So then we have the Team Lucha Lucha. They beat Team Enzo. It was like a 5, maybe 4-minute match. Kalisto gets the pin, obviously, to put them down in people's minds that Enzo won't retain, but Enzo's going to retain, no doubt in my mind. And this could potentially set up, like I said earlier in the video, a Team Enzo versus Team, Lucha Lucha match at Survivor Series for a pre-show. I think that's an okay pre-show match. I think that's pretty acceptable. Angle comes out to announce his male Survivor Series team. Shane's music hits. And Shane comes out of the crowd with a huge roster of SmackDown guys. Not all of them. In fact, some people I've noticed that weren't there was Orton, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Charlotte. They were all missing from that. I'm sure there were some other guys missing. I know Breezango was missing. But those are the important names that I could think off the top of my head when I was looking around. I was like, where's this guy? Where's this guy? Granted, it makes sense that KO or Sami Zayn wouldn't be involved. Orton, I mean, he's a bigger star, so maybe it makes sense. And then Charlotte, I don't know if she's still dealing with things with her pop or not, but hopefully everything's okay with the Nature Boy. So they come out, they surround the ring. Shane walks into the ring with Kurt. He basically just says under siege, and Kurt Angle runs out of the ring, and then Shane says, get him, boys. So then they go to the back, and they just start beating up anybody they see. First they see Titus and Apollo. They beat the crap out of them. They see an intern. Corbin throws the intern into a wall. They shove down a big screen TV. They beat up Hawkins, Rhino, Axel, and Goldust in the back. They beat up Jason Jordan, Matt Hardy, and Finn Balor in another locker room. They go to another locker room. They beat up Elias Sampson. I think it was Heath Slater. I couldn't quite tell. And the Good Brothers. And I had to stop this one a few times because I couldn't tell who the guy with the sleeve tattoos were they were beating up, because it looked like Randy Orton. I was like, why are they beating up Randy Orton? That would make zero sense to me at all. He's not a Raw guy. He wouldn't be there. And then I saw that Carl Anderson was the guy next to him, so I can only assume that was Luke Gallows that was getting beat up. For some reason, it looked a lot like Randy Orton. I couldn't really tell, couldn't see his face. Let's see, who else there was? They run into the Raw women. It was like Sasha Banks, Alicia Fox, was it Emma and Bailey? And they fight, and it was Becky Lynch, Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina that were beating these women up. They then grab Kurt. They make him watch them as they beat up Seth Rollins and Ambrose, which they were hiding in the back, kind of like almost looked like an alley, but of course it's inside a building. And they jump down onto them and try to beat them up with some chairs, but they end up getting beat down. They drag Kurt into the ring. Crowd starts booing. Obviously not what to think. I thought this was cool, but I guess since they're at Raw, they're defending the Raw brand with their boos. Shane calls for them to bring Kurt to the ring. Shane says, bring your medals and the rest of your roster you can find to Survivor Series. And obviously, I think Raw will have some sort of a counterattack at some point. So when he said, bring the rest of your roster, it made me think that it won't be guys that we're seeing being beat down by these guys. Unfortunately, Finn Balor was one of them. And to me, Finn Balor is such an obvious choice to be on the Team Raw. 100%. So I've made a list of guys that I can see being on Team Raw. And SmackDown, I'm pretty sure that Team SmackDown is what I listed down here. I have like 7 guys. I have a lot of guys that could be on the Raw team for me. And then women, I pretty much have it down to 5 women as well. And then we'll talk about the card, and then we'll talk about TLC real quick. It won't take long for the TLC review. So the Raw men, I don't know if Roman or Bray are going to be back. They're both still sick with the viral infection. Some people say it's the mom. Some say it's meningitis. I don't know. Only thing the WWE has mentioned, it's a viral infection. Hopefully these guys will be okay by then, because if they are, 100% Roman is in that match. No doubt in my mind. Roman will be in that match. Bray would be in that match, in my opinion. I still see Finn Balor being in that match. Maybe Kane. And then maybe like a returning Samoa Joe if he doesn't get involved with like the Brock match. Braun Strowman's still dead. I don't think Braun's going to come back. Granted, I believe we have 4 weeks until Survivor Series. We have a lot of time to work out the Kane and Braun storyline by then. So maybe instead of Kane, you can put Braun Strowman in that spot. If, say, to sell Raw one week, they have a Braun versus Kane last man standing match, or a Buried Alive match, similar to Braun versus Big Show in the Steel Cage. That was a pay-per-view quality match, but they did it on a Raw. So I could definitely see them doing that with Kane, especially if this is just a very short-term thing. I could also see, Kane still be on the Survivor Series team, and then during the match, Braun comes out and attacks Kane, costing Raw the match as revenge on a lot of these guys, especially if like Cesaro and Sheamus, who I've written down here, will be involved in the match. Because if Roman and Bray aren't in the match, I think we could see a team like Finn, Kane, Sheamus, Cesaro, Samoa Joe. Now, this is assuming Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon don't wrestle on their teams. They could. And if they do, there'd only be 4 other superstars, obviously. Jason Jordan is an honorable mention, so is Elias Sampson, because they both could be on the Survivor Series team, having a little bit of tension between the two if they don't have a straight-up match at Survivor Series. Granted, it's basically just a Raw versus SmackDown pay-per-view, so I don't know if we're going to see actual feud matches like that on the show. So I'm gonna pretend this is gonna be my final 5. What I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna say that Angle and Shane don't wrestle on their teams. I'm just gonna say they don't. And then I'm also gonna say Roman and Bray are still gonna be sick. Let's just say that is a scenario I'm looking at right now. I'm gonna guess Finn Balor, Kane, Sheamus, Cesaro, and then Samoa Joe. I don't think Cena's coming back, but I could see Cena being the other big name on this team to help put some value on this team. But I think Samoa Joe, he's clear to wrestle again. I think Samoa Joe is definitely making a comeback real soon. And then SmackDown team, AJ Styles is a given. Shinsuke Nakamura, Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and then Dolph Ziggler are my choices. I think that's pretty fair. One other person I could see maybe being in there, maybe in Dolph's spot or even Bobby's spot, would be Rusev. But I could see Dolph or Bobby being ahead of Rusev because in booking, they've been booked ahead of him as it is anyways. And then, again, I have Shane. If Shane will actually wrestle on his team, he, of course, will be on that team. Maybe instead of Dolph Ziggler. I 100% see AJ Styles, Shinsuke, and Randy being on their team. And the other 2 slots are kind of interchangeable. And then as far as the women go, Alicia Fox is the captain. I'm going to go Sasha Banks, Bayley, Mickie James, because Mickie James was also attacked. So, in my mind, the 4 women that got attacked, which was Alicia Fox, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Mickie, and then you had Asuka to the mix, because, I mean, that'd be an obvious choice. And on SmackDown, you have Becky, Carmella, Tamina, Charlotte, and then either Naomi or Lana. And if Lana is not on the team as a active competitor, she can be like their manager on the outside. So that is my guess for the teams. Let me know in the comment section below who you guys think the teams will be for both Raw, SmackDown, as well as the men and women teams, respectively. I would like to see a third Survivor Series match, even above the Cruiserweights. But maybe that's just too many. Maybe it's just too many. I'm a little selfish, I guess, in that regard. So far, the Survivor Series card is looking like the 2 Survivor Series matches, Usos versus Seth and Dean, which is the tag team champions facing off. Natalya versus Bliss, Miz versus Corbin, Jinder versus Brock. So we have 6, unless I'm mistaken, 6 Survivor Series Raw versus SmackDown matches so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So unless they add another Raw versus SmackDown match, it is an even number, which means we could see SmackDown getting 3 wins and Raw getting 3 wins to make them both, I guess, none look weaker than the other. But I'm looking forward to it. I always enjoy Survivor Series. I like Survivor Series matches. And I'm happy to see that we're going to have some cool ones this year. And the Raw versus SmackDown dynamic is always a lot of fun. Although it does make it a little awkward when they do another shakeup or another draft. And you bring guys from SmackDown to Raw and vice versa, where it's like, hey, did you just beat me up, a few months ago? But anyways, they always ignore that. So let's talk about TLC. I'm going to do this real quick. There's really not a whole lot to really talk about, really. So the pre-show match is Alicia Fox versus Sasha. Sasha with the bank statement it was an okay match. I would say it's below average, though. I give it a 1.5 out of 5 stars. I think that's being kind of generous, to be honest. Elias came out 3 times throughout the night. I popped every time. I was in a Facebook group talking to people, and we were all super excited for Elias to come out. We were all pretty big on Elias coming out. And then during that time, Jason was throwing veggies at him. He thought TLC apparently meant tomatoes, lettuce, and carrots. But that's neither here nor there. Obviously, that's set up for their match on Raw tonight. I mean, Emma versus Asuka, which I thought was a really good match. Although, to be honest, I thought the Raw match was better, to be honest with you. I thought Asuka looked a lot better in their match tonight on Raw than she did at the baby. I don't know if she was a little nervous because it was her first, main roster match. I don't know because she just got back from injury as well. I don't know if she's a little affected by that. Maybe she had a little ring rust on her. But I still gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a pretty good match, one of the better matches on the card. And obviously Asuka winning was the better call. Then we have Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher versus Cedric and Rich Swann. I will say I do enjoy Jack's new music, which is nice. But this match itself was okay. Nothing special. It was an okay tag team match. I gave it 2 out of 5. Then we had Bliss versus Mickey James. Bliss won with the DDT. Again, very okay match. Nothing special, but nothing wrong with it. I gave it 2 out of 5. And we have Enzo versus Kalisto. This match was one of the worst matches on the card. But it wasn't really it wasn't just like gouging my eyes bad like kind of match. It was just kind of boring, and there really wasn't much to it. Enzo retained his championship. JK, he won the championship back. That was a joke because last week on Raw, Kalisto said he was going to be the new Cruiserweight champion. But Enzo won. He won with a thumb to the eye and then hit his Eat Defeat move. I don't know what he calls it. I know that he has a name for it. I don't know what it's called, though. And then we had AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. Awesome match, man. And it's really crazy. I mentioned this on Facebook in that Facebook group I was in. You know, it's crazy how well received a match like this is when you have no storyline build up. It's just a match based strictly on competition. Who's the better man? And before the match even started, this is awesome chance. This was a really good match. I think Finn really needed a match like this because there's been a lot of people, and still are, a lot of Finn haters who thinks he's boring, he can't wrestle, he's overhyped, he's overrated. And I don't think so at all. I think Finn's great. And to be fair, though, a lot of these same people were, you know, so excited that Prince Devitt was coming to, you know, WWE and were praising him for his NXT matches, and now they turn on him, of course. And that's the problem that's a big problem with wrestling fans, is they kind of bandwagon on things a lot. I never do. You know, I've caught myself doing it in the past. You know, there would be a time period where I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I started like disliking some guys, and I was like, and I really sat down and thought, I was like, why do I dislike this guy? He's really not that bad. And I just had this realization. I was like, you know what? It's because I keep hearing people saying how bad this person is. So I just immediately think that. And I need to be fair. I need to be impartial. Because I need to give people the props they deserve and then criticisms when they deserve it as well. Now, I'll admit, Finn isn't the most exciting guy on the mic. But really, you know, there's a lot of people that say Finn is not a great wrestler, you know, but Cesaro is. But honestly, Cesaro's not that great on the mic either. And I love Cesaro. And I think Cesaro's great. But I made that comparison to like Roman Reigns over the years, where, you know, I would ask people, why do you hate Roman Reigns so much? Because I don't hate him. He's not my favorite wrestler by any means. Probably not even top 10 favorite guys right now in WWE. But I don't hate the guy. I don't think he's that bad. I think he gets a lot of heat, and it's not really warranted. I think that people are so caught up with, you know, with people saying, oh, he can't wrestle, he's not a good mic cutter, he's not a good promo, he's not this, he's not that. It's like, yeah, but who is? Like, tell me on the roster right now 5 guys that could do it all that's better than Roman Reigns. And it's really hard to come up with an answer, with especially not using part-timers. You know, you have someone like Cena, of course, but Cena's a part-timer. I think, honestly, I don't think Roman Reigns is any worse than Randy Orton. I'll be honest with you. Maybe Randy's a little bit more smooth in the ring, but Randy's promos are boring. His wrestling matches are pretty boring. At the very least, I will say this. I don't know why this turned into a Roman thing, but I'll just use that as an example. You know, the guy, he could put some excitement matches out there. He's had some really good matches in the past. So did Randy, to be fair. But he's not the worst guy on the roster. Far from it, honestly. So I just think it's fair. It's if you're gonna hate on someone, I think it's only fair to give them their props when they do well. And I don't think there's too many people that can argue that this was an awesome match. And honestly, no false finishes really, which is rare to see a match with like no false finishes get so much praise. And I like that even more about this match. It's just how good it was. Finn won with 1 coup de grace, rubbed some people the wrong way. They were expecting a little bit more. But I think what this does is this whets our appetite for the rematch. And there will be another match down the line, and I'm excited for it. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think that's fair. Some might say 5 stars, and hey, I wouldn't argue with you. That's your opinion, and honestly, with the match being so great, I don't blame you for rating it that way. It almost did. There was, you know, maybe if there was just a little bit more to this match, maybe a little bit more build-up, a little bit more story, I would give it a little bit higher. But even though this match didn't need it, but on a match itself, really awesome match. Enjoy this match. And then at the end, they did the Too Sweet. Perfect way to end it. You know, there's no chicanery. I was kind of expecting to see maybe the club get involved, but I'm kind of glad they didn't, because this was awesome. Then we had what I coined the Metal, which is the Shield guys and Kurt Angle versus the Miztourage. I have felt, every possible emotion that you can possibly express during this match. Let me tell you something. First, when they came out, the Shield, that is, or the metal, and Kurt Angle came out and he was wearing the vest, I popped a big time. I know a lot of people wanted to see Kurt Angle in his, his wrestling outfit, his singlet. I was trying to think of the word. I almost said a gi. I don't know why the word gi was in my mind, but his singlet, maybe with the medals, the music and everything. And I get it, and we're going to get that sometime. But seeing him in the Shield, I just started laughing because he came out there, and I've seen a ton of memes about it. He's out there, he's got this big old goofy smile on his face, and his eyes are just bright. He's so excited to be out there, dressed like a Shield member. I thought it was great. But man, was this match weird. This match was so weird. So I was excited, and then I was kind of disappointed a little bit with how Kurt was in the ring. He was a little like I said, he was a little slow paced. There's some parts in the match where he's a little sloppy. I had a lot of cringing moments where like they try to break the table, and Ambrose at one point bounced his head off of it. I'm just like, oh my god, this guy's getting killed out there. These poor guys. One thing I'll say for sure, Dean and Seth took a lot of bumps out there during the TLC pay-per-view, and those poor bastards. I felt disappointed. I felt confused when the whole Kane and Braun stuff started happening because it came literally out of nowhere, and it just seemed so forced. It was so unorganic. Then they dropped it, and then all of a sudden they're back to fighting when they're on the ramp, and it's like, what are you guys doing? And then Kane buries Braun in a bunch of chairs, and then Braun gets out from underneath the chairs, and I think they expected the crowd to pop, but the crowd was just silent after this because they didn't know what the fuck was going on. And then they murdered Braun Strowman live on television. They threw him in a dump truck, and the dump truck starts compressing him and straightening him up, and the referees didn't check on him. They just kind of had this look on their face like, oh my god, we just did it. And the crowd started chanting, this is murder. And then that was it. They didn't mention it ever again, and it was strange to me that they killed a man, and not even the medical staff's going over there, nothing. Yet when Kurt Angle got thrown through a table, they went over there and escorted him backstage. Poor Braun. If I'm Braun Strowman, I'm teaming up with Team Smackdown. I'm betraying my Raw colors because they didn't even come check on me, the staff or anything. I don't know if this is like a babyface turn for Braun. Obviously, him and Kane are going to have a match, whether it's at Survivor Series, whether it's, Braun comes out during Survivor Series and takes Kane out of the match, costing Raw their match. Or if they have a match like I mentioned before Survivor Series, then Braun gets added to the Survivor Series match. I don't know. But this was really such a weird match. There's a couple table spot matches where I guess Botchamania you'll have a lot of fun with. Everyone in the Facebook group just started typing I am the table. But they win with an Angle triple powerbomb, and it was weird because Kurt Angle did like a thumbs down thing, a la Batista from the Evolution days. I almost thought he was turning on them. It was really strange, but then they did the triple powerbomb, and they won. I felt every emotion. I felt happy. I felt sad. I felt confused. I cringed. I was confused. I don't know. But ultimately, I enjoyed it because I laughed a lot because I didn't know what was going on. It may have been laughter of uneasiness. I don't know. I lost my mind during this match. This was almost on the level of like Broken Hardy shit. This almost was because they straight up killed a man. They grinded him in the trash can. I don't know. It was weird. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was definitely above average. These guys took a lot of bad bumps, man. They worked hard. It was just weird in the middle there, but then ultimately got that feel-good moment when Kurt Angle came back down. Was Olympic slamming Sheamus very gently, I might add, on the ramp, and then threw Cesaro through a table with the Olympic slam. Looked good at that point. Went in there, and they won the match. So I give it a 3 out of 5. I think that's a fair assessment. It was just a really weird match. But anyways, guys, overall, I'm going to give the pay-per-view, I'm going to give it a C. I'm going to give it, I guess, a 70%, a 7 out of 10, a 3.5 out of 10. Because honestly, if you remove, and I've seen people argue this, that AJ Styles versus Finn should not have happened without any build-up. But let me say this. If we have the same exact matches, and you scrap the match completely, which, by the way, there wouldn't be a whole lot of they'd have to fill the time up even more. And I think that's one reason why the awkwardness of this match happened, is because they could have just done another match on the card. Really, you guys could have had Elias versus Jason Jordan for 10 minutes. Since he was interrupted with throwing vegetables at him, we could have done something. But instead, you guys decided to draw it out. But I've seen people say that maybe Finn should have just been added to the Shield match in place of Roman. That way you kill two birds with one stone. But without the AJ versus Finn match, most of the matches were underwhelming. And even this match, if it was the same exact match and they still did, even if they didn't do a spot where someone went to the back and they still did the Braun Strowman shit and everything else, still would have been a very weird and underwhelming match. I think Creating would have definitely added something special to this match, and that's probably the only reason why I got a 3 out of 5 for me, honestly, because otherwise, probably would have been like a 2.5, maybe a 2. But man, you really need that AJ Styles Finn Balor match, because if you look at it, even if you include the pre-show match, the Sasha versus Alicia Fox match was nothing special at all. Emma versus Asuka was actually a pretty solid match. I will argue that was a really good match. But then the Cruiserweight tag match was kind of a throwaway match. Bliss versus Mickey I thought was underwhelming. Enzo versus Kalisto wasn't a really good match at all, which no one expected it to be. Then you had Finn versus AJ, and then you had the Shield versus Miztourage, or the Metal, as I coined them, because Kurt's a part of it. It would have been a really bad pay-per-view. I think a C is fair, because again, there were three of the 6 matches. I'm not including the pre-show here. So half the card I thought was at least above average. And that would be Asuka versus Emma. AJ versus Finn obviously was the best match of the night. And then the Metal versus the Miztourage. The rest of the matches were kind of boring and kind of sucked. And kind of sucked some energy out of the crowd and energy out of me. I can tell you this much, during the Cruiserweight tag team match, and I love the Cruiserweights, I got some dinner. I went to the kitchen, got something to eat, went to the bathroom, came back. That's just the way it is. That's how much I cared about it. I didn't really care about the Bliss Mickey James match either. So usually what I do, and I'm going to do this right now, and I didn't do this beforehand, but it's only 6 matches, so it'll be quick. I rank my favorite to least favorite match. It's pretty obvious what my favorite match is. So we'll just go down the line this way. Favorite match, AJ Styles versus Finn easily. Next, probably the Metal versus Miztourage, and then Asuka versus Emma. Followed by Bliss versus Mickey, Cruiserweight tag team match, then Enzo versus Kalisto I thought was the worst match, with the exception of the pre-show match. And it really wasn't a terrible match. It was just kind of there, It was less than average in my opinion, as far as in-ring goes and storyline-wise, and I just didn't care. So, it is what it is. So let me know in the comment section below, guys, what you guys thought of the TLC pay-per-view, what you guys thought of Raw. Who do you see being in the Survivor Series matches? If you have someone you want to see be in the match, it's probably not going to be in the match, but someone that's like, I really want to see this guy get a good shot at Survivor Series, maybe a Ty Dillinger or something. Maybe he could replace like a Bobby Roode, because maybe Bobby Roode doesn't need that type of a rub. Maybe Ty Dillinger can get a little bit more out of it. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below, though. Who do you think is going to win the title versus... It's not really a title versus title, but champion versus champion matches. If I were to have to guess right now, I think Seth and Dean are going over the Usos, even though I'd rather it be the other way around. Although, to be fair, you can have the Usos win with Seth or Dean accidentally hitting the other one, kind of causing some conflict between the two. Maybe that's too early. I'm going to go Seth and Dean. Natalya and Alexa, I think... That's a tough one. Because I think Carmella might cash in at Survivor Series. And it's going to be interesting. Could they somehow swerve us and have her cash in, but cash in on Alexa? Is that possible? I don't know. But it was the first thing I thought about when they set this match up was, can Carmella cash in on Alexa Bliss? Now, I know the simple answer is no, because it's for a contract for the Women's Smackdown Championship. But since they're on the same pay-per-view, I don't know. It's a weird thought. I'm going to go with Alexa Bliss. I think the Raw Women's are winning the Survivor Series match, which means I want to say the Raw Men win. Okay? So 1-1. I think it's going to end up 3-3. Unless it's set up a 7th match. This is actually pretty tough. I think Jinder's winning, guys. I think that's 2 for SmackDown. And I think Corbin's winning. So that's your 3 for SmackDown. And that means I think Natalya, Seth and Dean, and the Raw Women's 5 team are going to win. There you go. That's my predictions. Maybe I'll change my mind once I do actual predictions, but for now, that's what I'm thinking. But anyways, guys, until next time, which will be tomorrow for the SmackDown review, I am the Maverick Mark Daniels, bidding you farewell, peace, and one love.